You need to watch them. You learn more from watching. That's why children learn better from modeling, observing and modeling. Because when children watch their parents, they get their answer. When they watch their parents, they know how to respond to emotional things. So if a child is throwing in tantrum, as a parent, your response is really what will make or break that child. Because if you deal with the response well, you respond appropriately, then that child learns to manage their emotions. Whew. There's so many children who don't know how to manage their emotions, who have become adults, who are married. Do you hear me? So many children who were not taught how to manage their emotions, that bottled up the emotions and ended up as adults. Now they're adults who cannot express themselves, adults that are running havoc in their homes, adults who just go off on their children, on their spouse, on everybody. The way you respond to that child is how the child is going to learn to manage their emotions. So when you overreact, okay, they spilled the milk. Okay, it's bad, but it's not the end of the world. I mean, wipe the milk. Wipe the milk. That's all. If better yet, tell them go clean it. If you really must, tell them go clean it. But when you beat them for pouring milk, then there's a huge discrepancy, because you beat somebody for pouring milk. Now, when they don't pour milk and they go and break your chair, what are you going to do? This is where a lot of parents punish their children, and they hurt their children so bad. So it's a huge discrepancy. There was something I talked about here about anger, right? Your triggers. When your response is higher, much higher than the offense, right? You're triggered so high, more than the offense. You know there are deeper wounds. That's a quote that was posted on social media, thanks to my wonderful assistant. And but that quote says clearly that when there are deeper wounds, guess what? You're unable to respond appropriately. So you're beating a child for spilled milk. You're punishing them. You're putting them on timeout for things that you really shouldn't. Do you understand? So the magnitude of your response. Okay, I'll come here and talk about emotional response. I did a masterclass on it, so I'm going to come here and teach it. But when your response is this high and the offense was this small, you create discrepancy in the mind of a child, and also discrepancy in the mind of your spouse, because your spouse is an adult. But because you didn't react appropriately to something they said, it's something they said. Goodness sake, it's not like they went and cheated, right? They didn't go and commit some kind of crime or listen, they said something, it wasn't nice. Okay. Why did you say what you said? Like, why did you say what you said? Like, can we talk about this? That's all you need to do. You don't have to overreact and literally blow up. It's like you blow up in flames for something your spouse said. I mean, do you think your spouse has evil intent? Because let's be real. Let's take a pause and really talk about this. Do you think that your spouse has evil intent against you? Because if that's the case, then why are you with this person? Because everything they say triggers you. Everything they say makes you upset. There's a problem there. All right? So I don't want to digress. What does it mean to say I do? What it means is that I'm going to manage my emotional response so that I'm able to understand my spouse. So I'm able to offer love. I'm able to offer intimacy. Intimacy is the ability to show empathy, the ability to open up, the ability to share. There's so many people who struggle even with their phones. Why did you touch my phone? It's like, okay, it's a phone. You're going through my phone. Okay, maybe they're not going through your phone, but your phone rang and they came and gave you your phone. They're not going through your phone. What is in this phone that you must hide? What is in this phone? What is in this phone that you must hide? What is in this phone that doesn't give your spouse the right to touch your phone? What's inside that phone? When you cherish a spouse, you don't doubt them. When you cherish a spouse, you don't like prescribe evil to them. Like, oh, whatever you said, you meant it for evil. No, they didn't mean it for evil. It's your mind that's telling you they intended it for evil. Heck, the Bible says what the enemy meant for evil is turned out. So even if they meant it for evil, it will backfire. Do you understand what I'm saying? Even if they meant it for evil, for better or worse, when you have a headache, you take meds. There are meds that if they're doing a study, they'll give you a placebo effect, like they'll give you a placebo med. So that means they can give you candy and make it seem like it's Tylenol. When they're trying to do, because they were doing studies to show that placebo works because mentally you think you took Tylenol. So eventually you end up feeling better because you think you took Tylenol. But when you're sick and you're taking Tylenol, you're expecting to feel better. So you take the Tylenol, and because of your expectation, guess what? You actually end up usually feeling better. For better or worse, your headache is really bad. It's turning into a migraine. But when you take meds, you feel better. But in this case, the better or for worse means that I'm taking these meds knowing that it may not even get better. But at the same time, I'm going to take it. Does that make sense? So for better or worse doesn't guarantee that you will feel better. There are migraines that don't go away. Like they're just lingering, right? It's just a headache that's lingering. And there are situations that linger. It could get better or it could get worse. Like you meet a spouse, you meet somebody, you're dating them, they drink. You marry them because you think, oh, the drinking is no big deal. Or you think they'll change. Guess what? Instead of them changing from drinking casually, now they change and become worse. What did you sign up for? I do for better or for worse. So if they stop drinking, I do. If they don't stop drinking, I do. That's what it means to say I do. For better or worse. The situation can improve. This is the intent. This is saying that you knew of the situation. You knew there was something. Your spouse doesn't like to clean. You knew. People divorce over cleaning, over petty cleaning. Yes, it's petty because the thing about cleaning is it can get annoying. It can get annoying. I mentioned here before that I have a brand new dishwasher. I don't use it because it's faster for me to wash the dishes. It doesn't mean I like washing dishes. Then you say, but why don't you just use the dishwasher? Because the work it takes me to put on the dishwasher is too much. So I just wash it. Do I like washing dishes? I don't think there's anybody who loves washing dishes. But you know what? I have accepted that dishwashing will be most of the work I do. Does that make sense? You have to cut your losses, cut your battles. Decide on which battle you want to fight. You have to decide on which battle you want to fight. I'm not going to cry over dishes. There are real battles to fight. Do you understand what I'm saying? So you have to figure out what is that thing that maybe I don't like doing, but I will do it anyway. I won't get in my flesh and talk back. I won't get in my flesh and fight over dishes. I won't get in my flesh and I won't, because there's too much. I need the energy for something else. I need the energy to come on here. So I can't be fighting over dishes when I need the energy to come and teach. Do you understand what I'm saying? So you have to figure out what is that thing that could get worse. In other words, you don't like washing dishes, but there might be dishes piling up. It could get worse. Maybe your spouse will wash one dish. Maybe they'll wash two. They won't wash all of it. Whatever the situation, it can get worse. But you're saying, I do, if they don't change. So when you marry somebody when they're drinking and then you marry them, you're like, I want you to stop drinking. That's a little ludicrous. That's what causes a lot of dissension in marriage, because when you met me, this is how I was. You were okay with it. So anything you settle for Understand that thing you settled for can get worse. Did you hear that? For better, for worse. What's the other one? There is in sickness and in health. What else? Richer or poorer. The thing about richer or poorer is that situations change. That's why I always talk about how when you're getting married, you have to look at your lives together. I remember there was a guy who asked me on a date years back, and he said he's going to take a taxi and come pick me up at my house and go to the restaurant. And I was like, I mean, I had a car at the time. Living in New York City with a car was a big deal. Like, and as a woman, right? It was a big deal because I was still like 21 or 22. And he didn't have a car at the time. So he said, I'll take a taxi and come pick you up. And I was like, why would I have you do all of that? We can either meet at the restaurant or I could just drive my car and come pick you up. Like, I get it. You know, it's expected of men to do this and do that. But let's say I don't drive to come pick you up. That's fine. But we can meet halfway. You don't have to take a taxi to come get me. And he was like, he looked at me. And I think that made him really like me more. He was a really nice guy. Like, he was a nice guy, very intelligent. And he was actually, I think he was an engineer at the time when I had just finished school. And he was a great guy. He made good money and all of that. But my reaction shocked him because he was like, a lot of girls will just tell me, you know, pick me up. I'll be ready. You know, come take a cab to come pick me up to go to. No. And living in New York City, I get it, you know. It's like, it's not cool to take public transportation on a date. I get it. But a person that wants to build a life with you will not let you waste money. Yes, I said it. If you're dating someone and they're having you waste money, this is not somebody who is in agreement with you. Let me explain. This is not somebody who wants to build a future with you. This is somebody who may have issues with spending, with saving, with. That's why I said, don't ask the person you're interested in, oh, how do you spend? How do you spend money? What are your coping mechanisms? Watch for their coping mechanism. Because some of these things, if they tell you, they will lie to you. But you must watch for it. If you're watching their behavior will tell you whether they know how to save or not. You don't need to say, do you like to save? No, you can tell by how they spend while you're dating. Yes, share the broadcast so other people can hear it. Seriously, watching, you can get so much from observing. That's why I love to talk. I've always been a talkative. But I'm a talker that uses her 2 ears. While I'm talking, I'm listening to you. So a lot of times people are like, how did you hear that? I'm like, because I was listening. I don't eavesdrop, but if you're talking around me, I'm going to hear you. Because you know what? What I need to know, I'm watching you. I tell people, I said the flaws, listen, there are flaws. I don't look at my marriage and say, oh, these are new flaws. The flaws that were bad in my marriage that like impacted my marriage, I saw it in the beginning. Did you hear what I said? Those flaws are not flaws that I saw later. They became worse, some of them, a bit improved, and some became worse. Do you understand what I'm saying? But I will be a liar to tell you that, oh, I didn't know. No, some things were clear based on the reaction, based on the response, based on the behavior. So I would say nothing shook me in my marriage personally, right? The surprise was the magnitude of what happened. Let me put it that way. It was a magnitude of what happened. You know, so for example, when I met my husband, he talked. We used to talk all night. We slept on the phone every night. Every night for the 3 months we dated, like we slept on the phone. 2 to 3 months, we slept on the phone every single night. I saw him every single day the first year of our marriage, I think minus 1 day or something like that. Every single day. From the time I met him all the way to the first year of our marriage, I saw him every day. I paid attention. I paid attention. So when you're doing long distance relationships, okay, we're going to go there. I'll come here and I will talk about long distance relationship. But for today, so I won't talk about it, but the long distance thing is such a big thing right now. I have to talk about it, right? But when you're doing long distance, certain things you can't see. That's the truth. You can't see. Because there are things you need to know about someone that you need to be physically. Proximity will give you so much information. You need proximity to pick certain things, to pay attention to certain things. So many of us missed it because you didn't pay attention. Oh, he wasn't like this before. No, he was. She wasn't. No, she was. She was. You were busy eating. She was feeding you and you were eating. You didn't know this woman had a bad temper. You were just eating. So you didn't pay attention. Every time you went there, she shoved you with food. So you ate. And you didn't pay attention that, wow, I didn't know her temper was this bad. But I'm here to tell you. That is why I always tell people, whatever you choose, whatever you say I do to, stand by it. Whatever you choose, stand by it. I can't answer to something I can't stand by. I stand boldly by the decision I made.